Hey y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to part two. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. I think on part one, I left off with while I was going through, um, basically, yeah, that's it. While I was going through so much inner turmoil because my grandmother had just died, and then I was up praying all night, like I said, by myself for the health and a health miracle, for God to provide a health miracle for my grandbaby. My, at the time, husband, now ex-husband, was in another state on a trip with the woman he was calling his fiance. And as I was saying, like, that was the traumatic circumstance and situation in my life that really led me to understand that there is definitely something bigger, something outside of me, something bigger outside of me, that God, that higher power, is not just inside of me. That higher power is outside of me as well. Because it was in those moments, and I kid you not, you guys, I know, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, because it's something that I'll probably never forget, because it's something that, you know, when you experience something that you've never experienced before, you tend to not forget it. And for me, I literally was crying every single day for 3 to 4 months straight, every day. Like, and there would be times where, like, I would be trying to do tasks and stuff, and then I would just, like, suddenly burst into tears and different things. Like, I would literally be, like, crying all day long. And I know that one of the main things or understandings that helped me get out of the bed every day was knowing that as soon as I get out of that bed, I'm about to hit the floor and hit my knees. I'm about to pray, because I know that God is about to provide me with peace that surpasses all understanding. Literally, God did this for me on a consistent basis, because I was definitely not myself. I was definitely in a weak position. And it says in his word that when you are weak, he is strong. And there were so many things, promises, I call them promises of the Bible. There were so many promises in his word that I was seeing transpire in my life, especially during that time. And it was during that time where I realized, like, I'm gonna need a little something more than ancestors and this whole bravado of I am God and I make it happen, because I could barely get out of bed every day. Like, what? And so I started really dedicating myself to understanding God in a deeper way, because it was in that situation where I saw how God was using people in the universe to rearrange things and make miracles happen for me, that I know it wasn't myself, because I was crying. I wasn't even, listen, God became strong in me because my flesh was weak. I was weak, and I barely even wanted to live. And it's crazy, because how my ex-husband did what he did was he stole money from me and my son, and then he disappeared. Like, literally, you guys. He And so it's like, not only was I dealing with um the inner turmoil, the spiritual turmoil, the mental turmoil, and the emotional turmoil. I was also dealing with, okay, where does this leave me here financially? Because literally stole a great sum of money from me and my son and then disappeared. And when he did, he left all the bills unpaid, including the rent. Took my money I gave him for the rent and ran off with it. And I'm thinking, okay, listen, I don't even want to look. I can get into details about that because that was a whole demonic situation. I'll just put it that way. And so he left me in a position where, listen, my grandbaby was just about to start school. She was about to start kindergarten. You know, they were living with me. You know, everybody's here now, and he just disappeared, abandoned me, and took my money and put me in a position to where I was trying to figure out, okay, how I'm gonna pay this, how I'm gonna pay that, on top of dealing with the mental, emotional, and spiritual things that I was going through at the same time. And I saw God do things that I know was not me. Like, I literally saw God make things happen that I could not perceive. Like, I couldn't see it. Like, God was making ways out of no ways that I definitely could not see. I was seeing miracle after miracle, to the point where, like I said, I was reading my Bible 2-3 times a day. It was usually the first thing I do in the morning besides pray. I would pray every morning. I would read my Bible every morning. I was reading my Bible every night. I was journaling every night. I was praying. I was praying on my prayer mat. I was just like, and this was day to day to day. I had to do this just to keep my sanity. Like, literally me clinging to his word and clinging to the promises in his word and clinging to this belief that there's a God outside of me that's taking care of all this. Literally, I was seeing things happen, and I knew that this was the place where God wanted me to be. So there's oftentimes when we go through traumatic situations, there's layers, right? There's the surface reality layer of it, and then there's the spiritual reason for it, and then there's the ancestral reason for it, and there's the generational reason for it, and then there's a spiritual reason for it. It just depends on how deep you want to delve into why you experience certain things that you experience to get to all those levels of understanding. Of course, I did, okay? But besides that, I know that one of the understandings was, I know that this is God saying, I want you to understand that I'm bigger. I'm bigger than just the God inside of you. Like, I'm much grander than that. And that was where God wanted me. I almost feel like, in a way, God was trying to save my soul or something, honestly, through that situation. And so with that being said, because I was in the situation I was in, I started really clinging to my business aspect of things, you know, doing readings and guidance sessions and astrology and stuff. The whole while I'm going through this mental and emotional turmoil because my ex-husband just abandoned me, stole my money and abandoned me. And it's crazy because at that time, all of a sudden I was getting like influx of clients, influx of readings, and I can remember at times I would be sitting there thinking to myself, okay, how I'm gonna pay this? And it would be times where I might be $50 short of some bill or the rent or something like that. And like I said, I was doing all that praying, constantly, and I was just always praying like, God, please help me, please provide. And I went a whole year of only depending on financial assistance through doing my readings. Only depending on making sure that I contributed to everything that needed to be contributed to. And it was all through doing readings, right? Now, mind you, Mind you, I'm getting this deeper, powerful, more powerful relationship with God. At the same time, He's sending me more and more clients. Okay, so eventually I started going through like these inner battles and struggles within myself. And I would sit there and I would spend like 1 to 3 days. I would spend like a week, and sometimes I would fast because I would be starting to feel that old programming inside of me that's like, you can't believe in God and His Word and do readings and believe in astrology and do tarot. You're sinning. It's wrong. And like sometimes that would still, come up inside of me. And then I would take time. I would take days, weeks to commune with God, to talk to God and speak with God. And I would say, God, whatever your will is for my life, whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do. Because God had already shown me how powerful He is in my situation. And I would tell God, listen, God, if you don't want me to do readings no more, I'll stop. If you don't want me to do any of this stuff no more, God, give me a sign, show me. Now listen, we serve a great big God. God is a miraculous, huge, supernatural, powerful energy, right? And if God can, and we know that God can heal people of diseases. People around the world have been miraculously healed of things that's been miraculous. There's always something that can happen in your life that you didn't do, right? A miracle, healing, money, things like that. So I know that we serve a God who can do the most miraculous things, right? So in my mind, I'm like, what is this to God to make sure I don't do readings anymore? Obviously, all He will have to do is make sure I get no more clients, send no more clients my way, give me bad reviews, make people do bad reviews, mess up my reputation, stuff like that. There's a lot of things that God could have orchestrated in the universe to steer me away from doing readings. Now, mind you, y'all, I was almost like a nun in this thing because literally totally devoted to God. Hardcore, okay? And I could remember needing things like needing this, needing that, and needing to pay this bill. And God would, when I tell you I knew it was God, because it would be like $50 short of something, and then like 2 days later, someone will order like $50 worth of readings or something. Or they will order something that came up to about that amount. Or they will order a guidance session. And I'll be like, wow. Every single time I thought I couldn't pay something, God would send a client my way. Listen, some of my long-term clients, they don't even know how much of an angel they were to me in my life during that time. Because no one knew what I was going through. I kept it hidden. No one knew that I had just went through all that. Literally did not tell anyone about it until like a year, maybe a year and a half later. So all the while I'm online, I'm promoting my business, I'm sharing things, I'm helping people, I'm doing the whole time. I'm crying every day. I'm reading the Bible 3-4 times a day. I'm depending on God for everything. Everything. So that's why when someone tries to tell me that I'm wrong for what I'm doing or whatnot, I don't listen, because I know what I went through. I know the struggles I went through inside of myself, the fasting and the praying, telling God, if you don't want me to do this no more, God, I won't do it. And every single time He would send a client, or He would send an angel in the form of my soulmate client to come in my inbox and say, hey, Ann, I need you. Or, hey, Ann, thank you so much for that reading the other day. You're amazing. You really helped me. And like, every time I would try, I kid you not, yo. Every time I would go to God and say, I'll give this stuff up, He would send, it would be like a matter of days or something, sometimes the next day. He would send an angel unaware, lift me up, make sure I keep going in this path, right? Because like I said, great big God. It's a plethora of things that God could have did to keep me from doing readings and astrology and all of that stuff, right? But this is the path that God wants me to take. I'm trusting God. This is the path that God wants me to take. This is who God brought me to be at this time in my life. And I trust God wholeheartedly in that. And what else? What else did I want to touch on? So that's why I do what I do. That's why I'm here where I'm at. Because God continues to keep me on this path. He wants me on this path. The amount of times I've tried to stop, and it's like God would say, no, this is what I want. This is how I want you to do this. And God has a purpose for everything under the sun. Even when we do not understand it ourselves. That's another thing. The way that we as humans tend to view a thing is not the same way that God sees it at all. God sees things on a level that sometimes the human mind cannot conceive. We serve a God that is so important that you have a personal relationship with him, because everything that there is to know about God is not in this word, y'all. Not everything. I'm going to just be honest. A lot of it is, but for you to truly understand who God is, you have to cultivate a personal relationship with God. Because listen, it says right here in this word, there are things in this word that you will not conceive or understand unless you have a personal relationship with God. And there are things that God wants to reveal to you that you will not find in the word. So, and that's proof right here. There's several scriptures that say these things. Let me show y'all one of the Bible verses that reveals that there are things that are hidden, and only through a deeper relationship with God, right? When you're with yourself, of course, will you understand these things on that level. Like, there's deeper levels to understanding. Just read Revelations. Just read Revelations, right? But it says here, Daniel 2:2. Listen, y'all, 2:2:2. Daniel 2:2:2 says, God reveals. Okay? How he decides to reveal anything to you is not going to be just in his word. He will reveal things to you through others, through people, through dreams, through cards, through prophecy, through connection, through circumstances, through situations, and through the word. The word is not the only way that God reveals. But God is the one that chooses how he reveals it to you. It says he reveals deep and secret things. Meaning, if it's a secret, it might not even be in this word, right? And the only way you're going to know, listen, he says he knows what is in the darkness. So the way that God sees things is not always the way the human mind sees or perceives it. See, God knows the true intentions of my heart. And see, that's what God looks at. See, our human perception sees what's in front of us, right? And we don't take the time to really reflect on things. When we feel a certain way about somebody, when we get other than, we tend to just go with whatever we feel or see in regards to that person. We don't go into deep thought. We don't ask God about that person. We don't, we just take it at face value, like, that's what I see. But see, that's not how God sees things, right? God knows all. He understands the bigger picture. So with that being said, I'm so happy God understands me fully. And with that, it doesn't matter, honestly, who does or does not understand me. Okay? Because I know what I've been through. I know what I've experienced, and I've walked through this path on the deepest level. You know, what you see is not all that it is, right? And it says here, he knows what's in the darkness. So he knows the things that we do not perceive. And the only way we can perceive those things is through him. He says here, he knows what's in the darkness, and light dwells with him, meaning he is the light. He is the way shower. He is the one that will reveal what's hidden. He is the one that will reveal it how he wants to reveal it to you. But you have to be open, and you have to have a real relationship with God. John 16:13-15 says, but when he, the Spirit of truth, which is God, he is the truth and the light, comes, he will guide you into all the truth. The levels of understanding something. For he will not speak on his own initiative, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will disclose to you what is to come. That sounds like prophecy to me. And listen, it says here, he will not speak on his own initiative. What that mean? It means you got to seek him. You have to seek God. You have to develop a core relationship with God, because he's not just going to reveal things to you. He doesn't just reveal things. He only reveals things to those who seek him. Okay? And he will disclose to you what is to come. So God will use methods to bring you to understanding of what's to come in your life. Certain things, because we are not allowed to know all things. No matter how good you are at prophecy and psychic and all of that, because if we knew everything, then what would be the point of living, right? Like, if we knew everything that was to come, like, God will only reveal to you what you can handle. That's what I learned. And God will only reveal to you what is needed to trigger you. So he's either going to reveal things to trigger you, or he's going to reveal things because he knows you can handle it. So God will reveal what you can handle, and he will reveal what triggers you. So because God knows all. He knows everything that's within us, everything that's within our heart, our mind, our bodies, our souls. This situation that I went through, the traumatic situation, really brought me into a way deeper level of understanding who God is. And as a result, I could never turn my back on his word or God. And one thing I love to do is find scriptures and make them my promise. Like, God, you said in your word, you promised me this. And then I hold to that, because that's a lot of what got me through my situation, is clinging to the promises of God. And the consistent amount of praying I had to do. And listen, I didn't do no ancestral work. I didn't do no I am God type of stuff. All I did was completely devoted myself to God. Completely. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I was praying 3 times a day on my knees or on my mat, north, south, east, west, baby, because it was that deep. It was that real. Okay? God knows the true intention of my heart. And he understands this path he got me on. It's nothing for God to take me off this path. And yet I'm still on it. It's nothing for God to do whatever needs to be done to rearrange things. But he continuously guides me into this path of, this is what I want you to do in this world. This is how I want you to navigate in this world. And I'm so thankful God understands me better than anybody in this world probably ever could. Because one thing's for certain, and two things for sure, is that I now understand that no matter what happens in my life, as long as I keep my friendship and my relationship with God, I'm gonna make it through. No matter what it is. I don't know what it is. And it's just, I love the Lord. This is who I am. And listen, y'all heard my story. If God wanted to take me out of this, he can. He could. Real big God. Okay? Real big God. And yet, he continuously leads me on this path. Because at the end of the day, my intentions are pure. Because I just really want to help people. And there are many people, I wrote this down, there are many people in the world who have a desire to help people, right? And there are also many people in the world who do not give a damn, okay? And God knows our most inner parts, And so that's my story. That's how I navigate through this. That's how I go through my path and my journey as an unconventional, esoteric, eccentric prophetess, okay? Because literally, and I don't care what nobody say, I literally put my life in God's hands. And I give my will over to God. I say it all the time, like when I be going through my emotions where I'm like, God, are you sure you want me to keep doing this? And I'm always telling God, I give you my will. Like, what do you want from me, God? What do you want me to do, God? And God, he continuously leads me. And there are things that God wants you to experience in this life for your soul purpose. And a lot of that can be found in your astrological energies, which is what I do as well. You know, with I do astrological readings and different things like that. And that was one of the things that helped me get really solid on my understanding of this path. Like I could see it in my chart, like, oh, a lot of what I experienced was probably to come, and everything, you know, with my gifts and my talents, it shows in my natal chart. It really does. So I think I've pretty much, you know, gotten everything out that I wanted to get out about that, in understanding that being a reader and being someone who's into metaphysics, and at the same time having this incredible reverence and love for God, it can be difficult at times, but he continues to save me. He continues to lead me. He continues to guide me in all of it. And I know that that's what my soul came here to experience. You know, at 44 years old, this is what my soul came here to experience. And so I'm honoring my soul by doing what I do. I really am. And even God knows that. Because he knows me in and out. He knows me in and out. So anyway, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed the videos. You guys, if there's anything you want me to do a video on or discuss further, you know what to do, y'all. Reach out.